Hi, guys. Thanks for joining us on the Activate and Illuminate podcast with Mel. I'm your host, Mel. Together, we're going to be diving into some stories of ordinary people doing a little bit of extraordinary things. People who've maybe pushed their bodies, their mindsets, or maybe society's paradigms. So you're going to find yourself maybe wanting to laugh, cry, or even be inspired. We would invite you to share, like, and subscribe, to sign up for our newsletter as well on activateandilluminate.com. Now, just keep in mind that this information that you are going to hear is informational and educational for entertainment purposes only. This does not constitute professional advice of any kind. The views expressed are those of myself and guests only. Listeners are encouraged to seek professional and legal advice regarding their own situations. So, thank you for joining us. We appreciate your time, and thanks again for being here. So today we are joined by Autumn Skye. Now, she is a visionary artist who really redefines creativity. She's from the rugged beauty of Vancouver Island. Now, her art would be described as a fearless exploration of the human spirit, challenging us to see ourselves in a different light. So I have actually named this episode the kind of art that you do not recover from, because honestly, I felt entirely changed afterwards. So in this episode, she's going to unveil some of her creative process, where mastery meets spontaneity and where art becomes essentially a powerful mirror of our deepest truths. So join us. Please listen to the end. I find this episode with Autumn to be just absolutely soul opening. So enjoy. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. So today we have with us someone that admittedly has allowed me to feel stuff that I've never felt before. Autumn Skye. She is a visionary artist from the West Coast of Canada, from Vancouver Island. And I will tell you that my experience of Autumn's art was something that I have never had the privilege of feeling anything like this. So I knew that when I had these feelings inside of me, and when I asked if she would be on a podcast and she said yes so graciously, I was so excited. So because I want all of you to be able to, in your own little way, maybe experience just a little tidbit of Autumn that I've been able to. So thank you so much, Autumn, for being here.
Thanks, Melanie. It's such a pleasure and an honor, and I look forward to diving into conversation with you.
Yeah. So before we get into maybe, some of what your life's work is, tell us, who is the spirit of Autumn?
No, I think it's something that's unfolding on a daily basis, moment to moment. And the practice that has allowed me to continue to get to know myself in deeper and deeper ways is the creative process. So when I'm sitting face to face with a canvas, it truly becomes a mirror. And that teaches me so much about myself and about how I walk in the world and how I want to walk in the world, with curiosity and presence and surrender and diligence, all of the things that have become tools in my tool belt that I can continue to explore with.
Yeah. So I have never been moved by art like I was by yours, ever. And it led me to this question, Autumn, of, do you think people know them or get to know themselves through art? Or do you think through art that they know themselves?
I think that that's been the role of art since the dawn of humanity. It's such a tool of self-exploration, both the making of the art and the witnessing of it. Art has always been a pillar in just the central consciousness of humanity and of civilization as it's evolved over the millennia, and the ways that we can process collective experience, the way that we can point forward to possible futures, the way that we can explore ourselves and what it means to be human, what it means to live on this planet, what it means to grow old, to experience life and daily experiences as new, while also revisiting universal truths or universal concepts, archetypes. It's really a way that we can reflect. And I think that when people are moved by paintings or by music or by dance or by anything, by sunsets, when we're moved by beauty, it's that we're seeing ourselves in that. It becomes a mirror to us. It becomes a reflection, and it might reflect to us parts of ourselves that we didn't know were there. And I think that that's really the transformational opportunity of art, is to stand in front of something like a painting and to feel things that we didn't know were possible, and to discover aspects of ourselves. Maybe it's catharsis, maybe it's release, maybe it's a deeper understanding, maybe it's healing or inspiration of what's possible. But I think it's all available. And as we're all continuing to unfold and develop and grow and become more and more ourselves, every time we step in front of a painting or listen to a piece of music or whatever it is, we hear something new. There's a newness on a moment-to-moment basis, where we're always experiencing the world around us in new ways because we are always evolving.
Yeah, I when I first witnessed your art, and I experienced all these emotions that I hadn't felt. I hadn't gone there to necessarily to even with art, bringing home art as potential. And I felt all these different things go through me that I wondered afterwards whether before I just had not given myself the right, whether I had been holding myself back in my self-love to be not able to recognize love in the external, right? So I was wondering whether I was able to feel something inside of myself that then translated to me being able to recognize something in yours and to appreciate the beauty of what I saw in something that I'd never experienced before.
Yeah, I think that that's absolutely on point. And I think it can take us off guard when we are truly moved by
Yeah.
a piece of art or whatever it is that we, maybe especially when we're not looking for it,
Right?
it can hit us and it can be really monumental and pivotal in our lives. I've definitely experienced that numerous times, where somebody is taken off guard and surprised by their own emotional release. And
Mhm.
it can be a little disorienting, and it can be embarrassing if we don't want to be crying in public or something like this. But it's such a beautiful opportunity for just sinking deeper into ourselves and really getting to know ourselves on levels that maybe we weren't aware that even existed before. And yeah, to me, it's one of the great gifts of art. It might be the great gift of art, is just this deeper understanding of ourself and our place in the cosmos.
Yeah, it felt like a very pivotal moment and healing. Do you feel like that as you're painting? Like, do you feel like you're healing different aspects of yourself?
Yeah, I think during the creation process, it's there, it's present, and every piece is very different, and every aspect of every piece. Sometimes it's really spontaneous and fresh, and I'm flowing with the brush strokes of maybe a abstract background or drips and smears and beautiful just paint on canvas, more of a tactile experience. And other times it's literally hundreds of hours of tedious nuance carving details out of this piece, and really just having to be disciplined and continue to show up. And different aspects of myself come up at those different times. The spontaneity brings out a different piece and teaches me aspects of myself that the really diligent meditative process doesn't. And it all dances, but it's also quite subtle, because I'm just sitting there in my studio. I'm doing what I've always done. This has been my practice my whole life. So it's it's like an old shoe now. Like, I know it so well. And a lot of the time I might be listening to music or listening to a podcast, or just listening to the rain on the skylight, and just in that space of creativity and curiosity. And yeah, it's always different. It's not very often that I sit with deep emotional catharsis necessarily, but it does come up for sure.
This episode brought to you by protandemcanada.lifevantage.com. What if you could turn on your body to work like it was supposed to? What if you could have it remember how to handle toxins, stress, and the environment like it used to when you were young? What if it worked for your pets too? What if this is not about supplementing something that is missing, but activating something that has gone dormant? About actually turning on your body to make these things again. Learn how to activate your body now. Check us out, protandemcanada.lifevantage.com.
Yeah. Well, I kind of skipped over some introductory pieces of you tell. I just felt like I had to get right into the how you made me feel, because it was such a moment for me. But tell us, let's revert back a little bit and tell us like how you got to where you are, a little bit of your childhood and just where you think maybe some of these gifts come from.
Well, I was born in Nova Scotia and have always lived rurally, except for a couple years in my late teens living in Calgary and going dancing a lot. Other than that, I've always lived in the woods or by the ocean or deep in the mountains. And that's been a huge blessing in my life. We lived off-grid a lot. And so I didn't have a lot of the sort of modern technology and entertainment and distractions that other kids that I grew up with had. So I made art a lot. I was always encouraged to. It's the greatest blessing in my life is that I was never told not to make art. And it's just always been my companion. It's always been my play and my exploration and my joy. And it was promoted and encouraged by my family and friends and teachers, and everybody seemed to recognize that this was a mission that I was on. And since my mom says before I could talk or walk, I was making pictures. So it's just very much, they weren't necessarily like spectacular virtuoso pictures, but the fact that I always focused on it and I never took time away from making art. There's never been, like, there might be a couple weeks that I don't paint, but there's never been a month or two that I don't paint. It's just always been constant since my childhood. And so it's just propelled me forward. And all through my teens, I was supported. My high school art teacher was incredibly encouraging. And then all through my 20s and these as well. And now I'm 42. I'm so grateful that for the last 20 years, it's been my career and my mission in the world. I've also been teaching for the last 15 years. And that teaches me a profound amount about the creative process and about life as creativity and about showing up in front of the canvas in vulnerability and willingness. And it just takes me to incredible places all over the world. I'm so blessed. I'm so grateful that this is my mission. And it's just felt like my mission for my whole life. Like since my earliest memories, I remember this just like this drive in my belly and in my bones to make art. I knew I was here to make art and share it with a lot of people, and I didn't know what that looked like. And I still don't know what that looks like. It's like every turn around the corner takes me in a new direction, and I'm not one to create these like 5-year plans or 10-year plans or try to get too specific about where the art will take me, because I can't possibly be as creative as the universe. And so I just let the things unfold. I walk through doors that open for me. I am proactive with things, but I really also listen and allow the life of the art to lead me and take me on a journey.
Well, that you do. It had me wondering when you talk about like being so young with those memories. Do you feel like you've, like you're trying to express in this lifetime, perhaps, and I don't know your beliefs or anything, but perhaps things that you've experienced in possibly others, or like if you came in with this innate knowing and this innate knowledge, is there any part of you that feels like you've been an artist before?
I definitely see that as a possibility, and maybe it's a probability, really. I do believe in reincarnation and the echoing of lifetimes, and also the flow state of spirit, that after people pass, that they're still here and that time is nonlinear, and that, it's like, I think that our reality is so much more intricate and nuanced and fractaling than we realize. And I love mystery, so I'm not one that's like, show me how you did that magic trick. Although I'm curious, I love to see magic and to believe in magic. And I also really love mystery. I don't need to know how big the universe is or how small we can split an atom or anything like that. I really just love to stay in the place of curiosity and mystery in life and in the creative process. So even with life itself, like I really just let's go. We show up, we be as authentic and in integrity as possible, and just really point our hearts towards what lights us up, and then let the universe put the pieces in place. And that seems to be really the way things truly flow in my world. And yeah, as far as, I don't know whether I've had lifetimes before. I definitely had a knowing as a kid, and so as like a very young child, but I haven't had specific memories necessarily. I also feel like there's, lots in the spirit world that's helping me, but there's nothing that's been super overt in like what that looks like.
Yeah.
Mystery.
Yeah. Well, you can definitely sense it in your for me, when you told me what was the meaning behind that painting that I felt so moved by, and it just made complete sense as to why I was so moved by it. And do you think imparting the energetic of a specific recipient into that painting when you paint it? Or do you think that as you're creating it, it already has a destination?
It very well could. And when I see someone like yourself that connects with a piece on such a deep level, like that is the deepest honor. It feels like that was painted for you. And these pieces they go where they need to go, and I don't get too hung up on when they go to that place or what that looks like. And at the same time, somebody can have a sticker, or they can see it on their phone, on Instagram or something, and you can have also very cathartic experiences, because I do believe that these paintings are mirrors, and so what one person sees in it might be quite different than what another person sees, and your authentic experience, just like water, like the reflections in water of the sun bouncing off the surface of the ocean, that reflection will always follow us as we're moving. And the person standing next to us or a mile away, it will also be following them as they're moving. And so it's the hologram of reality that is always pointing towards the viewer. And I think that that's why the world can feel really profound and really magical when we are looking for those reflections, because they're truly everywhere. It's there in the hummingbird at the feeder. It's there in the wind in the leaves. It's there in our friend's face sitting across from us, or it's there in our cat on our lap. Like, we see ourselves in the world around us, and it's like a resonance. It's not like, oh, I don't see my face in my cat. It's not about like an obvious reflection. It's about a resonance of like, through my connection with this thing outside of my human body, I can get to know my human body on a deeper level, just like a mirror does. The mirror isn't us, it's a reflection of us. And it might be the most literal reflection of us, but everything reflects us in different ways, through resonance, through harmonics, through energetics. It's really, through stories, through themes. I really believe that when a piece of art or music or whatever it is, food, when a meal, when something moves somebody so deeply, it's that the artist was successful in getting out of the way. So I believe that the more my art moves somebody in how that piece moved you, that means that I was successful in listening and surrendering and just being of service to that energy that needed to come through. And so this is the goal and the quest of all creatives, I think, is to truly, you hone your craft. You work really hard. Like, I work very hard. I put in so many hours on a daily basis into honing my craft and showing up and meticulously carving these visions out of nothingness onto the canvas. But that's just half of it. The other half is about this listening, about this deep curiosity, and about this surrender to what needs to move through us, what lights us up. When an idea comes and it lights us up, that's a listening. And that's what, when we can hone that skill of that deep, deep listening alongside the dedicated discipline of perfected craft or of a honed craft, then those two come together. And then that's like the pianist that just is impeccable and can play spontaneously, or the tango dancer that glides across the floor that's just so effortless, but knows every footstep like so precisely. So it has to be both. I think that's what we long for. Right? In the creative process, we long for mastery and total abandon and yeah, when those two can come together in balance, then we're in the sweet spot. And then that people can see themselves in it. They can appreciate the execution of that thing, of that perfect dance or that incredible meal or that beautiful painting, but then also feel what spirit is making available to them through that medium.
Yeah, I found it really interesting that at this particular event that you and I were at, I wasn't actually able to feel that until the end of it.
Hmm.
You know, I wasn't. I didn't necessarily see that the first time. And then I was blown away by this wave of, and I don't know whether I just allowed myself to get to the space of being able to maybe be a reflection of what you had painted, or allow myself to feel maybe worthy, because I realized at the beginning I don't know if I would have felt worthy, and then at the end to feel that emotion, it was quite profound. So speaking of emotion, what would you say is the hardest emotion to paint?
Well, I do paint, like the theme of grief comes into my work pretty regularly. I really feel like we're kidding ourselves if we don't allow ourselves to feel some level of grief in this day and age. There's plenty to release and to really feel deeply. It's at all angles. And everyone in their own life has something on an intimate level to also experience grief around, whether it's the passing of a loved one or whatever that might be, the breaking of your favorite mug. Like it's all levels and it's all relevant. Like feel deeply at all levels, I think is okay and necessary, vital even. So grief does play into my work, but I really make a point of, I think grief is beautiful. It is the other side of love. And when my dad passed, I really sat with that, of this experience of like really the beauty and depth and like bittersweet heartache of grief, because we don't want the grief to go away, truly, because it is love. Love is that. I think this, like culturally, we think, are you done grieving yet? Are you through that process yet? When really that is with us forever. And even before, if we're falling in love with someone, there's already some level of grief if we're truly honest with ourselves. So we get a new dog and we're like getting to know this dog, and a few years goes by and like we're already experiencing on some level, if we're truly paying attention, there's a level of grief because we know that one day we're going to be separate from that thing that we love, that being that we love, this person that we've maybe spent decades with. We know that one day one of us is going to pass or will be separated in some way. And so to really like embrace that, the subtlety of that grief that's already there in, like, you see the moon reflected on the ocean surface, or a sunset. Like, part of what makes the sunset so beautiful is the fact that it doesn't last forever. If it was there all day long, every day, we wouldn't appreciate it. A shooting star is miraculous because it's here and gone in an instant.
Mhm.
Phosphorescence or fireworks or, babies or whatever it is, like these things that are just so ephemeral, and then they transform and then they're teenagers or whatever. But it just, when they transform these things, they might completely transform, and there is always going to be grief in that. So I always try to embed like the beauty of grief and the hope that it also brings. There's always a newness around it. When we let go of one thing, it makes space for new things. And so, yeah, hope being embedded always in my paintings, even when they deal with some of the more sorrowful moments or experiences of this reality. I haven't, since I'd say my angsty high school, when I thought I needed to paint angst, you write tragic poetry and it's all just very melodramatic. I don't think I've dealt with as much like painting anger or those kind of like darker emotions. Most of my paintings center around hope, freedom, connection to others, connection to self, or connection to the natural world or animals. So they center around manifestation and divine inspiration. So yeah, I'm not sure what the hardest emotion. There's a lot of artists out there, and there has been for many, many hundreds of years, for decades or beyond, of artists that do paint the darker emotions. And I think that a lot of the time that's very necessary. There's a catharsis in that. There's a healing available in that. And I also am wary of putting too much of my creative energy into these darker emotions, because I truly believe that the creative practice is a practice of manifestation. And so if I'm sitting and meditating on a vision or on an emotion, it will amplify in my life. So even when I'm painting grief, I'm painting hope with it, because that feels important. Like, yes, the catharsis of experiencing that, and the beautiful little doorway out of it and through it, and making peace with it. And so I don't really, since my angsty teens, I don't really want to spend hundreds of hours portraying something that I feel like will only perpetuate a negative ripple in my world.
I think that is the key on life, actually. Everything that we focus on amplifies. Now, you said something, painting for hundreds of years, painters for hundreds of years. If you could sit beside and paint in tandem or duo with somebody, who would that be?
Probably Alphonse Mucha. He's like the father of Art Nouveau. Most people know Mucha's work through his poster art in Paris around the turn of 1900s, and around the World's Fair, and the beautiful women with flowing hair and gorgeous flowers and organic vegetal lines, and just very beautiful. What a lot of people don't know, I really encourage anybody that's familiar with his work, because you'll know it when you see it, Mucha, is that he spent the last 20 years of his life, he went back to the Czech Republic, and he spent the last 20 years working on 18 enormous paintings, like 30 feet tall, these like incredibly huge. They're called the Slav epics, and they are so beautiful. They tell the story of the Slavic people. And so they're still painted with his sensitivity and his beautiful pastel color palette and his delicate touch, but in these like grandiose, like unbelievably epic vistas and scenes with many figures. And I just find that his level of craftsmanship and composition and orientation and curiosity around the world and celebration of beauty, I just find that so intoxicating, so beautiful, and so inspiring. And so I'd love to sit with him and just really, just soak it up.
Sorry, do you hear that, Autumn?
Yeah, there is a little fuzz.
Yeah, we'll just continue on. So in hearing you talk, it makes me realize of how absolutely uncreative I have been lately. And things that I used to allow myself more creative free. I used to make a lot of my own clothes. I used to like create more than I have for a long time. And it's interesting. Even as I say that, I hear my voice changing. But excuse me, what do you think it is that holds us back from being creative?
I think it's a lot of things. I think that society in general tells a story that creativity is a luxury, or that it's juvenile, or that it's the path to chain smoking, alcoholism, dramatic, glamorously dark, starving artist syndrome. Or that it's something, it's a waste of time and get a real job. It's something for children or whimsical people or people that don't need to make a living. There's a lot of things that can distract us in life from any number of meaningful activities. And creativity is definitely one that in many ways most people are told not to. People have voices in their head or in their creative process that tell them that they're not good enough, or that they don't have time for it, or to get a real job, or who do you think you are to do that, or so-and-so over there is better at it, your sister's better at it, there's just, that's for children. There's so many different ways that we're told not to be creative. And then as we grow up, we get distracted by life and carry on with the world and our careers or whatever it is, our families, and we embody and take on those voices and we think that they're ours. And so then to the extent that when I'm painting in public and like at a live event and I ask people, what do you think should be in the hands? Or what do you think the background should be? It is amazing to watch people like recoil in like, I have no right to give you any kind of opinion. Like, who am I to share an idea into the creative process? And I see it again and again also in my when I'm teaching, of people that come and they've already taken that first step of investing in the course and taking the time, making the journey here to the woods on the coast, and carving away that 5 to 9 days of just being willing to be here. But still, it's fascinating to watch people sit in front of the canvas, and all of those voices, all of those stories come up of enoughness, of too muchness, of, oh no, I messed up the perfect white canvas, or impatience of it's not looking amazing in the first 15 minutes that I've been painting on this. That must mean that I've failed. And then watching people settle deeper and deeper into themselves, of like seeing, okay, this is a marathon, not a sprint. This is a process. I tell them, you can tell them and say, some of my paintings take 500 hours to make, but until you experience like what 20 hours feels like, you can't even fathom what 500 hours feels like. So they think that it's going to be incredible right off the bat, that my paintings just pop out like that. They're already done. They're already meticulous. They're already refined. But really, it's an unfolding, and it's like building a house. You lay your foundation, you put up your walls, you put on your roof, and then you get to work on the finished carpentry. And that's what takes a lot of time. And the more time you take with it, the more you can create these worlds, and the more you learn about yourself and your patience. And so I think when people aren't creative, like if you're saying that you haven't experienced creativity, I would encourage you to get curious with your life around the ways that that's actually not true, the ways that you actually are creative on a very daily basis, and to really like relax into the relief of that. Like, did you make dinner last night? Did you make breakfast this morning? Did you arrange the throw pillows on your couch, or a bouquet of flowers on your table? Did you orchestrated an outfit today and chose which earrings to go with it? And you put your hair up. And these are like very moment to moment, like practical ways that we are creative constantly throughout the day. Even the words we choose, the way we appreciate the sun coming through the trees when we go for a walk, the way we look at like the color of your dog's eyes when you're petting her. There's a lot of ways. Appreciating beauty is also creativity. So you don't need to make art. You don't need to paint pictures or make sculptures or dance the tango to be creative. You can do it in these little subtle ways. And so the more that you notice those and stay creative, stay curious about that, of like, oh, actually, I'm creative every day, then that will amplify, and that will bolster your confidence in that creativity as well. Like, look how much you've done already today. All these creative acts is so miraculous, so special, and so uniquely you, that only you could have done those things just the way that you do them. And so then say, okay, well, now I want to like maybe see what it feels like to take one of my kids' crayons and the back of this, cardboard box lid, and just like draw a flower or a heart, and then fill it in with little patterns, and then burn it, toss it aside, or, anything like this, painting, like drawing with chalk in the driveway, or going to the beach and drawing in the sand and then walking away and letting the tide come and take it away, or arranging little leaves out in the yard and just make a little mandala, and then get little pine cones and arrange those. And there's lots of ways that we can like dip our toes into visual art or creative play in very non-committal ways. Whereas if you can put a lot of pressure on yourself, if you say, okay, I don't think I've been creative lately, but I really want to paint, and I think that that's the way I'm going to do it. So I'm going to go to the art supply store. I'm going to get this huge blank canvas and these fresh new paints, or this like pristine sketchbook. And then I'm going to sit there and I'm going to wait for inspiration to hit me, right? That is the scariest thing on the planet, a blank canvas, for one.
I have 2 of them in my garage. Huge.
Okay, see? So, scariest thing, most exciting also, but scariest thing, blank canvas. And inspiration, if we think of her as this divine force that wants to flow through us, whether that's, we want to give that a name, a lofty name, call it life force, call it God, call it spirit, call it genius, call it whatever it is, this energy that is our birthright, that's flowing through us in all the ways, all the time, but maybe not in that channel yet onto the blank canvas. If we're sitting there like this, waiting, like with our arms crossed, like, where's my inspiration? I have this blank canvas, I'm ready, and it's not here yet. That is not, my cat's meowing in the background, sorry. That is not going to inspiration to come to us. What inspiration does love, like Picasso says, inspiration does exist, but it must find you working. That's my favorite quote. I think I say it in every time I talk, is get active. Make art in all the ways you can think to, whether it's arranging the food on your dinner plate or drawing with charcoal on the back of a fridge box. Like, really just use the creative process like as spontaneous and low commitment as possible. Something that you're not going to keep, you're not going to sell, you're not going to hang in a museum, you might not even post on Instagram. Gasp. You just are doing it for the practice of doing it. You're getting it out, like shaking it out of your hands. And then, do that a few times. And then when you do pull out that big blank canvas out of your garage and you set it up and you got all your new paints and you're there, inspiration's already trickling through you. And maybe the next thing you do is you just pick a color, maybe close your eyes and pick a color, squeeze out a big dollop in a bowl, get a big brush, and just mess that white canvas up. Just freaking give her. Like, lots of water, lots of paint, goop it on there, let it drip, get a spritzer bottle, get a cloth, like get mucky with it. Like, really use this as like creative Drano. Just get it out. And then step back. And it's not a white canvas anymore. See if you can cover up all of the white on the canvas. Maybe it's just one color, just soft colors, just like mush, 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 mush. Don't forget to breathe. And then it's key. That is key. And then step back, leave the room, let it dry, come back and do it again. Another color, another layer, do it again, get it out, just flush it out. And okay, maybe it's maybe not going to be your most favorite painting ever. Maybe you're going to do 30 layers like that. And it's eventually going to take into an image. It's going to turn into a flower bouquet or something like that. But if you need to paint it back to a white canvas and start again, you can totally do that. You can get a primer or a gesso, take it back to a white. Maybe you burn it. Maybe that's okay too. Maybe you leave it at the end of your driveway with a big free sign, and that's okay too. Or maybe you put it back in your shed or in your garage, and you don't look at it ever, like for another couple of years, and that's also okay. But the act of doing it is the most brave and important parts of getting through that idea of like, I haven't been creative. It's like really proving to yourself that is available to you in every moment of every day. It just doesn't always look like a masterpiece painting that you're going to hang on the wall. It looks
Well, I'll
like
tell you what, Autumn, I will commit to by the time this episode airs, I will have unwhitened my canvas.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? I didn't even think of, so I call myself I call myself a sky whore because I am running outside in every sunset, every sunrise, and I have like 3,000 pictures on my phone. But I didn't realize that maybe running outside in the snow barefoot to get that perfect thing as I run downstairs in the morning was being creative.
That's your artist. That's your inner artist saying, get out there. It's not convenient. It's not glamorous. Get out there and appreciate that beauty.
Yeah. I didn't even think of that as being creative. So you're right. I'm so creative.
You're so creative. Look at your fabulous hair today.
I cooked supper last night. Look at
Yeah,
me.
you did. It was probably amazing. Then you not only cooked it, but you assembled it on the plate,
Yeah.
which is there's always some art to that. And some people take that to the utmost degree. And other people, you just slop it into a bowl. But there's always some choice there of like what plate, where does it go on the plate, what goes beside it.
I love cooking, but I'd never really thought of that as really expressing myself, because it feels like you do some of the mundane. Maybe I said that wrong. You infuse art into the mundane, but I hadn't really necessarily thought of it like that.
A lot of the time we're just going on autopilot, right? We don't think about it. We're just driving home from work and you see another sunset and you're like, oh yeah, whatever. And then you're making dinner and it's just like, okay, is it chicken or spaghetti tonight. Like, it's just like we get in this routine where it's just like time is just passing us by. We're wasting time. We're like, we're not really paying attention. But if we even like the tiniest little crack of curiosity and appreciation in the creative process as a way of living, then all of a sudden it like opens, aperture of that expands, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, actually, yeah, those flowers sitting on my counter, that's like, I put those in that vase and I made a choice. I might not have been noticing as I was doing it. I was just like being intuitive, because we are intuitive. We're intuitive about the way we cook. And, once you've been painting for a year or 5 years or 30 years, that becomes intuitive too. And that's why I say, like, I don't necessarily have these like big cathartic moments while I'm painting, because it's just, to me, that's like making dinner. I'm in the creative flow of it. I'm listening and I'm showing up. Whereas, like, yeah, we can bring that same energy of the painting process or of the appreciating a sunset while we're standing barefoot in the snow. We can bring that same energy to how we decorate our home, or the outfit we wear, or the way we, sing to our kids, or the way we garden. There's creativity available in everything we do, in our conversations, in our internal dialogue. It's all available. It's just easy to get swept up in the busyness and the doingness of life, and those stories that we've had since childhood that say we're not creative sort of overwrites the reality that we are living a creative life at all times.
So we talk about our life now and our world now, and you can look at it through, a kind of a transformation perspective, a dismal perspective, an excited perspective. Tell me something that you're excited about what we are seeing in the world right now.
I'd say I'm really excited to see more and more people embrace their creative selves. More like, I've had, I don't know, 1,000 students over the last 15 years that have surprised themselves at what they're capable of. And now some of them are teaching or have made careers or just paint for fun. Or maybe they haven't painted at all, but it's infused into the rest of their life. And then I have other artist colleague friends who also teach, who also have people come to paint that have never painted before. You see it all the time through social media of people that are exploring their creativity. They're singing to the screen, that are dancing, that are doing whatever it is that's their creative outlet at the time, and to really see that waking up in humanity. And I think that through creative curiosity, we can solve a lot of the issues that are plaguing the world right now. And that excites me. I love that art and making of art and creativity in all of its forms lights us up as beings. And I think that being lit up, like being alive, being turned on by life and by the beauty that is all around us, that, and even by like being inspired by the depth of feeling, by the range of emotion that's available to us as humans. So even, like I was saying, even in our grief, even in these moments of like the dip of emotion into the underworld, that we can take pearls from those experiences to bring back to the surface, infuse into our creativity, and bring more meaning to our worlds and to those around us. We can offer these experiences, these creative these outputs as ways that people can have their own cathartic experiences. Yeah, so I think that just art in general, I don't think there's ever been as many artists. I would put serious money on it that there's never been this many artists on the planet at one time ever. The fact that we have, as society, we have the luxury of the space and time, even if we're working a full-time job or 2 jobs, that there's still always a little bit of time that you can carve away to like make a little bit of art. Maybe it's just 1 day a week, but there's always time. And to see so much creative output on the planet is just incredible. And I think it's only going to bring more goodness, more healing.
How do you see AI playing out in art and in the creative world?
This is a tidal wave that we cannot avoid. It is massive. couple years ago, we saw it sort of sweeping the internet, people doing their little avatar images for their profile pictures on social media. And that was sort of the first time that the masses of the population were able to access some of those tools. And at that time, it was like, oh, yeah, well, there's 6 fingers and they don't really know what eye pupils look like. And yeah, it's going to be fine. And now it's like it's actually indistinguishable. And AI images are winning photography competitions and
All right.
painting competitions. Like, it's really, I've been watching, and the world has been watching, and particularly artists, illustrators, animators, a lot of these jobs, a lot of these ways of life, and these like masters of these industries, these jobs are going to become obsolete, and they already are becoming obsolete. Because why would a company like Disney pay for storyboarding or concept sketching or special effects animation or anything? Why would they pay for anything when they can just have it at the click of a button? And yeah, they might still pay somebody to put the inputs in because that person knows how to work it really well. But it's changing the face of the arts. And now it's in music. I think, I listen to my Spotify Discover Weekly playlist that's made for me based on my music profiling, and 3/4 of it is AI now. It's like enormous. So I see both sides of, like, the people argue, well, it's wonderful because people that didn't have the skill to make a painting or to make music can now have access to get their creative inputs or their creative outlet out into the world, and they can make something beautiful now. And it's like, well, there's value in mastery, and some people have spent their lifetime honing a skill to be the master of that. Like, if you have spent thousands and thousands of hours honing your skill as a pianist, and then somebody else comes along and says, well, I want to make a piano song, and they input a few prompts, and now they make a piano song that is like, it's like candy. It's like the perfect amount of sweet and salt. It's like, it's fast food, but it's delicious.
Yeah.
And it looks shiny. Like, it really is that. But that person, like, it's just so hard. It's so hard to, like, really get a gauge on, like, what's right, what's wrong, what's here to stay. Like, we can't fight it. But at the same time, it's like AI is combing the internet for art and now music and crafting it into this, like, impeccable product that is indistinguishable from reality a lot of the time, and will become more and more, to the point that we can't actually trust anything we see on the internet anymore. Which is good to know, good to remind ourselves, all right, it's all make-believe. Like, trust what's real, trust your people in your vicinity. And also, to me, there's something really, like, the value of art is not the product. Like, yeah, it's great to spend hundreds of hours in the creative process and to have a painting to show for it at the end that you can hang on your wall, or you can sell to buy more paints and pay your rent. Like, yes, that's great. However, that's not the point. The point isn't to have a commodity at the end that I can then trade for goods and services. I make art, and a lot of artists do. Like, that's the nice byproduct that makes it all possible. That, like, oh, I can pay my bills off of this, so I can dedicate my life towards it. The point of making art is in the process. It is in those moments of crunchy, tricky, questioning, nebulous mystery of, like, where am I going with this? What is this? Is that a mistake, or is this an opportunity? Am I, like, why isn't this happening faster? All of the what ifs and could haves and expectations and fears and demands and all of those voices. If my students came to me and said, okay, I want to make a pretty painting, they wouldn't come. They would just sit and they would type on their computer and they would make a pretty image that's, like, impeccable, that has, like, perfect everything and is just perfect. But what they come for is the deep soul excavation of the creative process. What you go to Vipassana for, if you're going to a 10-day silent meditation, you're not going for a little gold star certificate at the end. I don't think you get anything at the end. But you're not going for a certificate. You're going for the 10 days of hard work, of like really, really facing yourself on that cushion in every moment for 10 hours a day. And if you're going to learn to dance or play piano or learn to surf, like, why would you learn to surf? All that headache, all that like scary, trying nature of like the risk of it all and the work of it all and like the learning curve, and like it might be weeks before you can actually carve a beautiful wave and feel really good about it. Why would you do that if you could just put on your VR glasses and your simulation suit and like experience it perfection the first time? We learn it because the learning and the trying, the failing, and the doing it anyways is where the real richness is of the creative process. It's what teaches me on a daily basis who I am and how I walk in the world. And I would be robbing myself of all of that if I just plunked a few words into my computer to make my images. Like, even when it comes to concepting and composition and layout, like, no, I have to figure that out. I have to sit there and meditate on it and try things and sketch things and move things over by a quarter of an inch just to get them right. And is it the most efficient? Hell no, it is not efficient. But
Probably wouldn't have been crying in front of an AI image.
Yeah, there's a spiritual imprint that's infused with every brushstroke that I truly believe exists. Yeah, so we'll see. Time will tell. I'd say, like, for anybody who is like considering a career in art, I'd say don't quit your day job, because the online world is now just oversaturated with images. It can be really hard to get noticed if you don't already have a following. Still doable though. What I would say is make physical, tangible art. Like, don't go into the safe careers. Used to be illustration and graphic design, basically. Those were like safe art careers. Now those are going to be the first to go. Really, I would say, if you want to make art and you want to pursue it as a vocation, make physical art, because there's not going to be a replacement for that necessarily anytime soon. Being able to like tangibly see and feel paint on canvas it's just a reality that's not replicatable yet.
Yeah.
Big talk.
No, I 100% agree. And as you were talking, I couldn't help but think, had it been the same painting on the outside without all of the intention and all of the nuances underneath that we can't even see, would you still have that visceral emotional response? And I don't think so. But I think that this is what AI is doing. It's in some ways it's disconnecting us from our intuitive process. In other ways, like you said, people are starting to realize that just about everything we see isn't real, and it's allowing us to question more of what maybe our reality is. It's such a huge topic.
Yeah, I think it's really good to keep some healthy skepticism about all of reality, about, how real my body is. Like, this is just a temporary vessel too. So it's all layers and layers of illusion, and it still is very real. And if it's real in levels, and, we're sitting here digitally interacting, having a very real conversation, and I can't touch you. I can't confirm. 5 years from now, if I hadn't met you in person, I wouldn't know that you were a real person. And that is such a mind trip. Like, to know that, like, now I'm hearing, families should have safe action words or whatever to be able to like verify that this is me. I'm doing the thing. Like, don't send money, or do send money. Like, I am not actually lost in Venezuela. Like, this is because scammers will be able to use it. And like, you're seeing it. There's so many levels to the reality. And again, everything we experience is that reflection of ourselves. And so even a digital, like, my husband and I've been like going through these playlists and unfollowing or saying, don't play this music, because we don't actually want to listen to AI music. And there's been a few songs that have snuck through that we're like, ooh, is this AI? I can't actually tell. I really like it. And at the same time, just like a GMO burger can taste really yummy, It's like how much nutrition is truly in it. Like you say with the painting, how much nutrition, but it can fool people. And it's fooled jury panels in competitions as far as art and like painting and photography. And people come into, like, if I'm showing publicly, I actually have signs now that say this is guaranteed organic content. No AI was used in the process, because people come and ask. They say, oh, is this AI? Like, they jump to that
Well,
now.
you do such a brilliant job of some of the geometrical designs and stuff. I had to wonder myself until I knew that you didn't, just in talking and, researching you. I thought maybe that there was some overlay of imagery, not necessarily AI, but overlays of like just using technology in ways that, because your paintings look so amazing.
You. Yeah, that's those hundreds of hours, right? Like, you
Yeah.
can't, there's no shortcut to those unless you're going to use some tools that cut down on time. And some people do. And that's great. Like, use whatever tools your own conscience allows you to use. But I'm not willing to take those shortcuts, because to me it's really, there is an organicness and an authenticity that I think that people relate to that really makes a difference. And it's about education too. Like, if people are starting to assume that art is AI just because it looks polished, I want to remind the public that some people are really still willing to put in the time. And some people, even with the influx now of AI music, some people right now in this moment are picking up a guitar for the first time, and they're starting that journey. And 10 years from now, they're going to be a great guitar player. And that's so beautiful. And it's so worth it. That building those calluses, no amount of AI tapping on buttons is going to build the callus that a guitar, like a practice of learning guitar, is going to build. So it's still so worth it to pull that white canvas out of your garage and throw paint at it. Just because AI can throw paint in just the perfect, candy flavored way doesn't make it better. It's just, I've actually, since the AI images have literally come online and been available to the masses, I have felt even more motivation of making art, because it could go the other way. It could be like,
I think so too.
it's out there now, why bother? But I've felt in me like, oh my God, I gotta like keep ahead of the curve here. I have to like make art, make a lot of it, like get it out there. I gotta keep my hands in the paint. People are like, oh, do you play with AI, for your concepting? No, I don't want to spend more time on the computer. I want to spend more time with my hands in the paint, carving worlds out of nothingness and getting to know myself in the process. And no shame to those who do. Some people are into it. Some people are masters of it already. I have friends who teach people how to make AI. They like work for Disney, teaching the new programmers how to work with AI. Like, that's cool. Go for it. That's not for me.
Yeah. I think that we're going to come to a point where it's fast and it's sexy right now. Some of the technology and images and different things, but I think intuitively people are going to start reaching for what's real. Intuitively, people are going to start knowing, no, I want an unpolished, unedited, if I see a filtered face on people, I am just like, dear God, show your soul.
Yeah. You see
Right?
your
Like,
lines.
yeah, like I just want to see it. Like I want to see your age. I want to see your experience. I want to see it in your face and in your expression when I talk to you. And I think people are going to start reaching intuitively for more of what's real.
Mm-hmm.
So
Agreed.
for everyone that's listening that maybe doesn't know how to get a hold of you or where you're at, or maybe everything that you actually do and offer, can you just share that with us? We're going to have everything in the show notes, but just tell us some of what all this art, what types of products you've created. Just tell us how we can find you, how we can buy you.
Well, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook under Autumn Skye Art. That's Skye with an E, Skye. And also my website, autumnskyeart.com. So you can find me there. You can follow along on Instagram and Facebook with a lot of my process photos and my philosophical musings and videos and things. And on my website, you can find a lot of my products there, my prints, my inspiration oracle cards, my art book that's 165 pages of words and full page art images. Yeah, on YouTube as well. I've got a variety of videos on there. And I also have an online acrylic painting tutorial for anybody who wants to learn how to paint a little bit and be able to follow along at their own pace, or you can come paint with me in person. I teach 4 or 5 times a year in person, ranging from 4 days to 9 days, full beautiful catering, accommodation options. My husband and I have a little retreat center on the Sunshine Coast in BC here called Heartwood, which is amazing. We are actually in the process, though, of selling it. If you know anybody who wants it, it's very special land. We're really calling in the perfect stewards for this land, and we're buying an incredible oceanfront property just an hour south, so still in the same community, but at the other end of town on an island. It's water, boat access only, off-grid, and being able to scale up our retreat center in a big way and really call in other facilitators, have conferences, symposiums, meeting of the minds, and that's very, very exciting. And so I'll continue to teach there, but definitely get on my mailing list to stay up to date on all of those things. And for the 2026 retreat schedule launch, which hasn't been launched yet, but the next one will probably be in May. So just stay up to date on my newsletter for that. And yeah, that's all the things. Come paint with me.
All right. So if we could have a word of wisdom for you for the end of 25 and for the start of 26, what would you say?
One word?
No, you can have as many words, honestly.
Okay, I was like, okay, one word.
We could have a sentence or even a paragraph or maybe an essay.
I would say, like, if I was to pick one word, I would say permission. And with permission, what I mean by that is permission for ourselves, giving yourself permission to, first of all, get curious about in what ways you're already creative and in what ways you can expand that threshold of creativity into other parts of your life. And then permission to actually get your hands in the paint and be safe. Like, don't get physical paint in your face or in your hands, but feel what it feels like. Don't eat it. Feel what it feels like to dip a paintbrush in a glob of paint and smear it across the texture of the canvas. Like, feel that. It is real, it is tangible, and it is cathartic. So permission to do that, permission to mess up a white canvas, or to draw on that first page of a sketchbook, or to pick up a guitar, or be the first person on the dance floor, or to make a dish for dinner that you've never made before. There are so many different ways that we can give ourselves creative permission and give ourselves permission to maybe make mistakes, and then be curious around those mistakes of what is that actually offering me? What opportunity is actually being offered to me that I wouldn't have actually reached for had I not had this mistake happen, this quote unquote mistake. So just permission to be present with what is, I think, is one of the biggest gifts we can give ourselves at this point in every walk of our life, in every aspect of our life. Really, permission to be present, curious, and willing is the biggest hurdle of any creative process and any creative act in our daily life.
Well, thank you. I'll tell you what, you've just given me in this conversation permission to go and get that. I actually have 2 canvases, 2 3-by-6-foot canvases.
Oh, that is big.
I had a big vision, but I've been not giving myself permission to, like you say, screw it up, right? And I'm by the time this launches, I promise you, they won't be white anymore.
All right. Is it launching in a couple days or a couple years?
It'll be in the next few weeks.
Awesome. Why don't you pull it today so at least it can stare at you a little bit?
Okay. Well,
get ready. Really, one of the biggest keys, I think, to any creative practice is have a space that you can make a bit of a mess and leave it. So if you have to pull out your paints or your sewing machine, pull it out from the cupboard and set it up on the kitchen table and work there, and then you have to pack it down again in order to eat dinner, you're probably not going to pull it out. So if you have somewhere, even if it's a closet, that you just open that closet and your canvas is sitting there in front of you and you've got your paint, you can just pull out the little table, or like some corner of your living room or corner of your bedroom or something, some place that you can leave it set up so that even if you only have half an hour, you can just go, get to it, step away again, and you don't have to clean it up or pack it up every time. That is absolutely key.
Thank you.
I'm so excited for you.
I will report back.
Yes, please do. Please do.
Yeah, well, Autumn, thank you so much for your time and for your just inspiration and who you are and everything that you are imparting into art so that people, I feel, can maybe recognize a little bit more of who they're meant to be, because that's what I feel like when I look at your art. It's potential, it is activation, it is purpose, it's inner knowing, it's nature, it's exquisite. You, in that brief moment, you made me realize things about myself that I don't know if I had given myself permission to see before.
I'm so honored, and I'm so, so happy to hear it. Thank you, Mel. Thank you for being willing and for your vulnerability to show up in front of the mirror of that painting on a daily basis now and really get to know yourself in deeper and deeper levels. I'm very honored to be part of that process.
Thank you, Autumn. All right, we'll leave it here.
Thank you.